guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute since I last posted. It was literally July, I think, but I'm finally on winter break. I'm done with finals, so I'm gonna try to post more. Today, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm just gonna be doing like a little book recommendation video because this year I've started getting a lot more into reading. Like, okay, in middle school I used to read so much. I read like 10 books a week, but then once high school started I kind of stopped because I don't know, life, things got busy. And then during quarantine I just had so much free time, so I was like, let me get back into reading. I literally reread all of Percy Jackson, all of Heroes of Olympus, all of Maze Runner. Yeah, so I kind of like slipped back into my middle school phase during quarantine. But then since then, I've also read other books. And today's video is gonna be book recommendations on standalone books, so not series. But if you guys do want series recommendations, comment down below and I can make another video about that because I have so many of those. Also, I'm wearing this beanie inside my house because I haven't washed my hair in a minute and I really didn't want to wash my hair for this video. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to talk about first this book I'm currently reading right now. I'm almost done-ish, but it's called Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's by, oh, I hope I say this right. I don't know any of these authors' names. I feel like I'm going to mess them up, but I hope I say this right. Casey McQuiston. This book, it's honestly unlike any book I've read before because it was made last year, so all of the references in it are like super modern, and I feel like I'm really used to reading books that are kind of older or like fantasy, but I really love it so far. I definitely recommend it. It's like an enemies to lovers story between the Prince of England and the son of the President of the United States of America. So good. 11 out of 10. Well, I'm probably gonna rate all these books like an 11 out of 10, but I really like this one, especially if you're more into like light-hearted, not too serious books like that, and like enemies to lovers is always a good trope. So yeah. Okay, number 2 is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I actually read this in sophomore year. I don't really remember what it's about. Oh, it's about, again, it's kind of like romance, but it's kind of like this book is kind of dark. Also, like, trigger warning, there is mentions of suicide and stuff in this book, so only read it if you're comfortable with that. It's about this boy who like is just obsessed with death, and I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, this boy is obsessed with death, and this other girl who is like, she wants to live. Okay, I'm so bad at explaining. She doesn't want to die. She wants to like escape her town and live her life. And then they meet, and you know, stuff happens. I really like this book because it's one of those books where you get to know that not everything has a happily ever after. It's like I read this in one sitting because I could not stop reading. Next book, 1984 by George Orwell. I'm actually super surprised I'm recommending this book because this was a book I had to read for school. And usually when I read books for school, it just, I start hating them because even if I like the book, it's all the assignments that come with it, and like literally this book is probably so annotated. Yeah, see, like I hate having to annotate because I like to read for fun, so when you attach assignments to it, it just, my brain is just like, ew. But I actually really did enjoy reading this book. I feel like it's especially important to read this kind of book in today's age because it talks more about like if things keep going the way they're going, the kind of effects it could have on the future. And like obviously since it's a book, it's exaggerated, but I honestly do think this is important to read because after reading this, I became so aware of like the things that the media and the government, like how they twist words around to portray a certain message to make people believe certain things. So yeah, this is like one of the only school books that I've enjoyed. The other one of those is The Great Gatsby, which is not in this video, but I also do recommend that book, but this one for sure. Okay, next one, this one I actually read like last week. It's called They Both Die at the End by Silvera. This one was so good. It's about these two guys that, okay, so a lot of people are like, why would you read this book? Because it literally spoils it in the name, but like everyone dies at the end. So I guess it's not really a huge spoiler, but it's about how like in a futuristic world, people know the day they're gonna die. Like they get a call that morning and they're like, you're gonna die today. So it's about these two guys that got the call and like how their lives intersected and like the stuff they did. It's really good. Oh my god, guys, I really suck at explaining books, but all of these All of these books are just so good, so you should read them. And there's actually, okay, so there's two main characters in this book, but there's, and it shifts between their points of view, but there are also some other characters where we'll get like a few pages in their point of view, and like all of the characters somehow intersect with each other. Like, so for example, you'll read about this one boy's point of view, and like he'll do something, and then in the next chapter you'll read can I speak? In the next chapter you'll read about this other girl's point of view who you've so bad at talking, who you've never like heard of in the story before, and it'll talk about how the action of the last chapter like affected her, or it'll like unravel what happened in the last chapter and like how she was a part of it. I don't know if that made any sense, but it was really cool trying to like figure that out. So yeah. Next book, Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven, again, the author of All the Bright Places. I read this book in freshman year, so I don't remember much about it. I just remember I was so obsessed with it. Like, I read it really fast because I couldn't stop reading. Ugh, I wish I could remember more. All I remember is that I was obsessed with it. So, read it. Okay, here's another book I read this year. It's called We Were Liars by Lockhart. I think this book has been popular for a long time, but I only got around to reading it this year. And when I went online, I saw a lot of people hating on it for some reason, but when I read it, I honestly loved it. This is another one of those books where it's just like, once you start, you have to finish, because it's kind of a mystery. And throughout the whole book, you're trying to figure out what happened. And then at the end, there's this huge plot twist. I knew something was coming, but the thing that came, I did not expect it at all. I was like standing there at 4 a.m. with my mouth wide open. So if you're into that kind of stuff, like mysteries, plot twists, I definitely recommend. Like, after I read it, I couldn't stop thinking about it for days. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this. And it's also an easy read. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but the way it's written, it's really easy to read and like really fast, so you can read it really quickly. Like I said, I read it in one sitting, so yeah. Here's another book that I read. I read this at the beginning of this year. It's called The Kite Runner. This book really opens your eyes to other parts of the world, especially if you're living in a little bubble, which I try my best to look at other people's perspectives and make sure I'm aware of what's going on, because I don't want to just be caught up in my own little bubble and like forget that there's people outside of my bubble that have different lives and live in different ways. But this is certainly a book that will like really open your eyes. He also has another book called A Thousand Splendid Suns. I also recommend that. So The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns, both are kind of based off of the same thing, about like the war in Afghanistan and like what people in that war, especially women, it focuses a lot on like what women go through during that time, and just the things they have to do, the sacrifices they have to make. So good. This is also one of those books where it's like there's two different people, there's two different stories, and then at the end their lives intersect. I actually really like those kind of books because it's fun seeing how it will intersect. But yeah, this is one of the only books that has made me cry. Like, I usually don't cry at books, but this book made me cry because some parts were just so devastating. I had to take breaks between reading them because I couldn't go on. I think it is important to read because it really opens your eyes on just everything. We are on to the last book, and it is called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Sáenz. Whatever. This is another book I actually read for school. I know I said that I haven't liked any books I've read for school, but this is one of them that I liked. It's about these two guys. They're completely different, and like they have different views on life, and it's basically about how when they meet each other, they give each other their views and like make them see life in a different way. And then there's like a lot of struggles they go through and huge hurdles and stuff. It's like a romance, but again, romance isn't like the main plot, I guess, because there's a lot of life lessons in this book and other things. I think I'm really into those books where it's like there's romance, but romance isn't the main plot of the book. This is one of those books. I definitely recommend this one too. Those are all the books I have for today. There's definitely a lot more that I do recommend, but I think those are the ones that, like, when I read them, they really stood out to me, and I want to recommend them to others. Also, I'm always looking for more books to read, so if you guys have any book recommendations for me, like based off of what I just showed you, because I think those are the types of books I'm into. Comment those down below, and I'll see you next time, and let me know if you guys want like a book series video. Bye!